Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pearl's Chat, the first episode. Just a brief introduction on that. In this segment, we are going to call upon the industry experts who have worked in the M&A field, and they're going to tell us about their insights and their experiences as well. And today, for this introductory session, we've got Hardik Adenwala. Now, those of you who don't know Hardik, he's a chartered accountant with 7 years of including articleship in M&A. Yeah, I know that's sort of unique, but it doesn't end there. He's also taken part in place in fundraising. He's worked with in M&A in such fields such as tech and AI, sustainability, and even large Indian MNCs. And now is with one of the world's largest acquisitive firm. So please join me in welcoming Hardik Adenwala to our channel. Hardik, the floor is all yours. If you can just maybe walk us through your journey a little bit right now, it'll be great.
Thanks, Varun, for the generous words and for inviting me onto your channel. So yeah, you're right. I did get an opportunity to do my articleship in the field of business advisory services for 3 years at CA. It was inaugurated. It was a very new form at that point of time, very new field rather to do articleship, and at that point of time, I interacted with various folks from the corporate development field during my tenure, in my articleship, and decided to move into this space itself, after qualifying. So, having worked at KNA for 3 years, decided to move into the corporate development team at Quantify Analytics, which is essentially a Boston headquartered organization operating in the field of AI and data analytics. Spent a few years there, and out there my charter was more around buy side M&A, fundraising, as well as various other strategic initiatives for the organization there, and realized that probably let's explore what it means to be part of a larger organization setup, and probably a different sector as well. So that's where I decided to move into the Aditya Birla Group, where again I had a similar profile, but I focused on the fundraising efforts for the renewable energy venture out there. So yes, spent some time there, and having spent a decent enough of time, I came to the realization that while the organization is great, my inclination is perhaps more towards being in the tech side, and that's where I decided to move into the again corporate development team at Accenture, which, as you rightly pointed out, is regarded as one of the world's most acquisitive organizations.
Lovely, Hardik. Great journey, very inspirational, I'm sure, for our friends here in Americans. Right. Being a CA myself, I did know there are articleship opportunities in the areas of MA. Right. Since you have already worked there, can you highlight a few areas which are related to M&A where you can do your articleship? And also, if you can briefly touch upon your articleship experience, what entailed your role in?
Sure, Kaustubh. Definitely, it was a great experience, and one that actually set the ball rolling for me to pursue a career in deal making itself. So, and to be honest, while I was aware of industrial training happening in this field, in bulge bracket investment banks such as JP Morgan and Credit Suisse, even I was not quite aware at that point of time that articleship, a full 3 year articleship was possible to be done in this field. In fact, when I had visited KNAV's office for a discussion, I had actually gone there with the prospects of doing articleship in the field of audit. But however, thanks to the HR team out there, they patiently explained why I could be a potential fit for business advisory, and that was something new to me. So when I had a discussion with the manager out there, he sort of explained the details, and after a lot of thinking, I decided to make a move into this direction. So just we're probably providing a little more dive into business advisory services. It has two streams in itself. The first is lead and transaction advisory, which in today's terms is more commonly referred to as investment banking, and has a mix of both buy and sell side M&A. And the other stream is strategic advisory, which is again referred to as consulting in the world. To enter into this field, at the articleship level, I would suggest that apart from financial skills that the CA curriculum equips you with, one should sort of be aware of the recent developments that are happening in the market, more specifically in the startup space, being well read about what are the fundraisings happening, what are the M&A activities happening, not just being aware, but more importantly also developing your perspective on it, because both the worlds of consulting and investment banking, at the end of the day, involve a lot of brainstorming on having the right perspectives and in the best interest of your. Apart from business advisory, Kaustubh, since you raised the question of which are the other possible fields, as far as M&A alignment is concerned, I would say the closest is valuation, which is next, because that also involves valuing businesses and using the various valuation approaches. But that is one very critical skill that's sought after by in the M&A.
As you just mentioned that about the buy and the sell side in M&A, for those who are new to M&A, if you can just maybe deep dive into that one aspect, like was maybe the difference between the buy and the sell side in M&A with a few examples, that will be a great help.
Yeah, sure. So I take this up in two parts. While there are multiple differences, but the two key differences lie on the core work side and the street side. See, as far as the core work is concerned, the sell side M&A work involves working on developing various investor or acquirer facing documents such as teasers, information memorandum, financial model, etc. And this is done with an intent presented to potential investors or acquirers. But on the buy side M&A, one actually works on analyzing these documents in depth. And this involves essentially working on obtaining an in-depth understanding of the acquisition strategy of the client, who may either be a PE fund, the likes of a Carlyle Group or a Sequoia, or it could be a corporate acquirer such as an Infosys or an Ola Cap. So that's on the co-work side. On the outreach side, yes, certainly the sell side M&A involves scouting for various potential acquirers, which could drive the most value for our client. And on the buy side, it involves scouting for the right, acquisition opportunities, based on the strategy which the client has. So these are the two key differences, and a common thread between both buy and sell side, of course, involves representing your client's best interest and ensuring that you get the deal done and can unlock the best value of it for your client. Probably, I think one more point to add on this is that while there are external investment banking teams in place, but there are various organizations that have now started establishing internal deal making teams for furthering their M&A and inorganic growth agenda. And these are now more popularly referred to as corporate development.
Really, very insightful. Can you just give what kind of firms are working in sell side? What are the kind of firms and the example of big companies working in that sector?
Sure. So see, on the sell side, you have the largest investment banks out there. When I mentioned JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, they essentially work on helping their clients sell at the maximum value possible. And yeah, I would say that that's pretty much it.
All right. Thanks, Hardik. You mentioned that you have experience in fundraising and allied activities. Can you briefly touch upon, what entails in fundraising and how it is different from, a buyout M&A transaction?
I'll just cover this, on the lines of probably, stake sold and the governance. As far as, the stake sale is concerned, certainly, the fundraising involves selling a stake which is, less than majority of the shareholding to the potential investors or corporates. And the buyouts often, more often than not, involve a 100% acquisition or a path to 100% acquisition with at least 51% bought upfront. The second difference comes with regards to who are the beneficiaries of the proceeds that come out of this transaction. So when we look at a fundraising, it can either be a fully primary transaction, which involves making the payment or rather transferring the investment directly into the venture itself, so that they can use it for financing their working capital and operations, etc. Then there is another side which is known as secondary fundraising, where the sale actually happens to provide the stake of the shareholder to the corporate acquirer itself or the investor. And the third is a combination of the two, which is actually one of the most common approaches. Whereas in M&A buyout, the entire proceeds go to the shareholders itself, since it is nothing but a sale of shares by the organization, existing shareholders to such investor or corporate. That's with regards to the stake sale and the beneficiaries. But when it comes to the governance aspects, the investor does hold significant but not complete influence over the company, and does carry certain governance rights on key matters like market expansion, M&A, fundraising, etc. But in a buyout transaction, since the entire governance will shift to the corporate acquirer, there are no such sharing of rights between the existing shareholders and the new shareholders.
Yep, that is interesting to be honest, Hardik. Just a quick question there. Now, this is more in terms of skill set required. But if you can just maybe briefly touch upon, because you've been in this field for the now almost 7 years plus, so you must have seen a lot of candidates with varied skill experience. So if you can just tell me what educational background or what like a skill set is required, maybe if the candidate has to be an MBA from TA1 institute, or is it a chartered accountant who's required in this, or maybe a CFA? And I'm pretty sure every field has its outliers as well. So is even if that suppose if that's a concept out here as well. So if you can just maybe briefly touch upon this.
Sure, Varun. See, so as far as getting into M&A is concerned, you can have an undergrad, you can have a graduation in any field. I've seen people coming from engineering background, finance background, or even microbiology background for that. But on top of that, having a masters or equivalent in business is quite critical because it involves analyzing organizations across various, right from HR, operations, finance, admin, etc., to determine what is the right bet for the acquirer. So in this regard, there are certain degrees which you pointed out: the CA, MBA, CFA, ACCA, CPA, and certifications such as FMVA or equivalent. On top of any of these fields are quite critical in this regard. See, at the end of the day, the number one hard skill that one really requires in this field is financial modeling, and which essentially involves making the right forecast for the company based on very sound decision, and for which you need to have a strong base in finance and accounting. So that's on the hard skill side. But as far as soft skills are concerned, since you mentioned, this requires discussions with very senior stakeholders in the system. So having an advanced degree of communication skills, the ability to negotiate and persuade various stakeholders, as well as having an attention to detail. I think these are three very crucial skills amongst various others that are required, for having a successful career in it.
I never thought I would hear, right? So yeah, really, a lot of people from a lot of fields can come into this role. So Hardik, I understand that not everyone can directly land up a role in M&A. Sometimes firms require that they have certain background in core financial skills or in modeling skills. So what would you say? What are the kind of roles which are available to freshers, which can ultimately help them get into front end M&A?
Okay, so at least in my case, I was fortunate to have the past articleship experience in business advisory. But oftentimes, what I've seen is that based on the skills that I just outlined that are needed for M&A, I think valuation certainly is one field where people do move from to get a larger piece of the M&A life cycle. Similarly, since M&A deals often require a lot of due diligence, not for which we not only appoint advisors, but we ourselves also do preliminary due diligence. So at the end of the day, anybody who's adept at due diligence, I think they also stand to be good potential candidates for this kind of a role. And finally, I would say nowadays I'm also seeing a lot of folks from the FP&A profile, which is essentially financial planning and analysis, who are getting into this role because they also have the ability to not just analyze the historic trend, but also present forecasts that are happening into the future. So yeah, I would say that these are some three fields which are closely aligned and which could be perhaps favorably looked on when it comes to evaluating M&A campaigns.
Wow, Hardik, that was informative session to be honest. Yeah, I'm really thankful that you gave us this time, and I know we have chewed your head quite a bit in this, but I'm pretty sure this is going to help all our viewers as well going ahead. And just I'm grateful that you could join us in this session and inaugurate our Pulse chat as well. So thank you for coming on this chat with us, and I hope to see you soon. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Hardik.
Thank you, Varun and Kaustubh, for this time, and all the best to you guys.